What's up, everyone? Mom Vernon Kid here, coming to you again. How's everybody doing out there? Hope everybody is well on their end, as always. I'm here again to give you my comic book review. A pretty decent week this week, with some new additions as well for my subscribers as well. I always like to tinker around with introducing people to new comics and things like that. I never just stay in the big main two, Marvel and DC. But once again, as always, um, shout out goes out to Soko Kong, actually. Soku Kong. I just call him Kong, actually. Always look forward to hearing from this guy. Always like to hear his take, his input as well when he watches my videos. So, Kong, if you're listening, shout out to you, bro. Um, and of course, I'll leave the link of his channel in the description as well. So, this week since it's now June, officially June, yeah. Changed the lineup. So this month, it will go Marvel, DC, and I will end it with Independent. So we're gonna kick it off with Marvel, and the first book, of course, is round 5. The first act of Avengers versus X-Men comes to a close. Ramada Jr. is on the artwork as well. Do I hate Ramada Jr.? No, I don't. I don't hate his artwork. It's cool, no problem. It's good. I especially love his artwork when he does people in rain, when rain falls on them. I like that. However, the writer that takes the helm on this one is none other than Fraction. Yeah. If my sensei was there, he'd probably have a. Check out his channel, Blue Goblin X. He has some new things called Good Idea, Bad Idea. Funny stuff. Anyway, Avengers versus X-Men, number 5. At round 5. This picked up very nicely, actually, in my opinion. We got 5 X-Men: Scott's side, Colossus, Emma, Namor, Magic, and people like that on one side, and we got some Avengers, Hawkeye, Cap, people like that, I believe, yeah, on that side. And then you got Wolverine and Hope in the middle of it. And the Phoenix is coming. Yeah. And in the meantime, Hope starts to realize something, like she may not be able to control this, like I've been saying from the get-go. Because I would have, if basically with me, I would feel like this would feel like a major cop out to me if Hope is able to control the Phoenix where Jean has failed. You know what I'm saying? So she feels like she can't try, and you literally see her telling Wolverine to kill her. And so now it contemplates: can Wolverine do it? Can he kill a child? Will he do it or will he not? And lo and behold, we also get to see some other aspects of people that are involved. Like, we start to see where Hank and Tony were doing, what they were up to, things like that. We finally get to see later on what happens when Tony gets involved. We get to see that something contemplates a lot of psychics. They start going, they start flipping out. And we finally get to see Professor Xavier, finally. Maybe a cameo of him, but I've been wanting to see where Professor Xavier stands in this, and we get to see him with Legion, a legacy in this. So Legion, I believe, yeah, his son. So it's actually really interesting to see. But it's the outcome of what happens at the end, which I don't want to spoil. I never expected that to happen. Which is very, very wow. I was like, holy crap! Now, holy shit! Now what's gonna happen? So now it contemplates that of the next act of No More Avengers. Like, okay, but the first act of Avengers versus X-Men comes to a close. Now makes you wonder: will we see? We know Scarlet Witch is going to get involved somehow. We know that. So it's going to be interesting to see where where Wanda is gonna be in this. But from this issue, um, I gotta admit, not bad. But yeah, and I'm saying not bad because it's Fraction writing it. You know, I've said it before and I'll say it again, guys. The only book that Fraction should be writing is Invincible Iron Man. But this was good. Okay, now once again, there's only certain reasons why I tolerate this book, and this is a Fraction book, is because of certain characters in it. And the Defenders, number 7. All right. So bottom line is, Danny's friends, the other immortal weapons, are being taken out. Um, the last one we saw barely survive was Fat Cobra. He survived, but he's in critical condition, and Danny wants to know what's going on. So they come to agreement to find out what's going on. Yes, Black Cat is in this book. Terry Dobson does the artwork on this, but it's mainly about finding what happened to the mortal weapons, what's going on, who's involved in it. And what was really funny was seeing Silver Surfer fly a ship, which was really funny. And She-Hulk, even Red She-Hulk, Betty even says, like, "You can fly? I didn't know you could fly." And he's like, I've soared the galaxies, and it comes with the territory. I thought that was funny. I had to admit that was funny to see, Silver Surfer flying a ship, but then actually kind of contemplate about it. Like, yeah, I surf the galaxies and everything like that. I can fly a ship and no problem. Um, but it's really interesting to see who is behind the the um the the other immortal weapons being killed off, none other than the Prince of Orphans himself. Yeah, another immortal weapon. It was crazy. I was like, oh shit. Um, so I give it credit where credit is due. But like I said, you know, Doctor Strange and Silver Surfer and people like that, it's the only book you could really much see them. Except, New Avengers, yeah, but um, protecting humanity from the impossible, the Defenders, yeah. All right. Next up, the Invincible Iron Man, number 518, Fractions, Salvador LaRocca, great artist on this book. This is part 3 of The Long Way Down, and the new Iron Man, and everybody should know who this is. This is Jim Rhodes. He faked his death. Him and Tony put a plan together for the Mandarin. Fake his death, everything like that, and you see him work this new armor, and it's pretty badass. It's pretty badass. He handles some individuals, some pirates out in the ocean, and then he gets involved with some of um, the Justine Hammer's group, uh, while Tony is still dealing with how to get to the Mandarin without bringing awareness to himself. As well as we have people still dealing with Spy Master, who has infiltrated Tony's company and things like that. Um, what happens next? Go away, please. Thank you very much. Sorry about that, guys. um, where was I? See, I lost my place. Somebody interrupted me. Sorry. Somebody knocked on my door. Um, what happens next is um, it seems like Ezekiel Hammer wants out of this. Ezekiel Stain. He wants out of cahoots of the Mandarin, and it seems like there's a little bit of dissension in the ranks, because he knows the Mandarin is kind of using him and things like that, and that's pretty much how it ends, with a standoff between Ezekiel Stain and the Mandarin. But yeah, this was good. I did like the armor, but I think we all should have known that this was Rhodey in there. No way they would kill off Rhodey. I knew they weren't going to kill him off. But it was good nonetheless. Like I said, best book Fraction Rights. All right. Journey into Mystery number 639. Loki is sent into Otherworld by the All Mothers to help out the deities of Britannia, But also in this book, we also have Captain Britain, Merlin, and people like that involved in this. So it was really interesting. But none of them really trust Loki, because Loki's like, when he gets there, he talks to Captain Britain, and he says to Captain Britain, he's like, my brother has told me stories about you and everything. And he's like, yeah, and well, I don't need to know stories about you because I know who you are. I'm watching you, like things like that. It was really funny. They still can't trust Loki, no matter what his form is. He's still the god of mischievousness, and it's really funny. Um, but they have to deal with this because there's a deity that's trying to destroy Otherworld, and Thor wants to get involved, but the All Mother is like, stay, Thor, and everything like that. And you know how Thor is. He wants to help out a friend, and Captain Britain is a friend of his, but no luck. So they send Loki in to help out in a way. But also in the meantime, Hela is calling in that favor for Loki while he's in Otherworld, and now is contemplating, should Loki do it or should he not? But it was good, very good. All right, the Mighty Thor annual number one, one shot. J.M. DeMatteis is the writer on this book. So bottom line is, you got Thor, Silver Surfer teaming up with Galactus versus this deity that pretty much has been around since Galactus. Now the thing about this book is that it takes place before a Mighty Thor number one. So don't let the cover fool you. Thor and Surfer are not fighting. They actually teamed up on this, and it's pretty interesting. It was pretty much, this book totally took place out in space, pretty much the whole time. Maybe once you see them in Oklahoma, Broxton, Oklahoma, and then that was it. Um, and pretty much the rest of it is out in space. And Galactus really shines in this book. Um, really badass shines in this, very good. But when you get Thor and Surfer together with Galactus, you got magic to me. And that's pretty much what this annual was. It was magic. Just seeing Thor and Surfer battle against the odds, against this evil right here. I'm forgetting his name right now, but I also know the Void was involved in this as well. So, yeah, Mighty Thor annual number one. All right, so we move on to Ultimate Comics, the all-new Spider-Man number 11. Bendis and Marquez is the artist on this. So this picks up right where issue 10 left off. Miles's uncle, who is also known as the Prowler in this, basically, like I told you before, Miles finds out that his dad and his uncle used to run with a gang back in the days when they were younger. When his father took the path of righteousness, his uncle stayed in that life and became a big-time thief known as the Prowler. So, and his uncle found out who he is. So he told him to look up the identity, Google the Scorpion. We find out that the Scorpion is this big-time drug lord down in Mexico. I believe it is Matt Gargan, and so Miles. That's where it picks up. Miles comes to his uncle, and his uncle's like, "Did you look him up?" And he's like, "Yeah, uncle, I did." And so let's take him out. So they bombard the Scorpion, who now feels like he needs to stay in New York to become the new Kingpin. And pretty much there's a battle between there. Miles handles himself pretty well against this Scorpion. I mean, this guy is like, I'm not sure if it's, like I said, it's like bullets bounce off this guy. This guy can take a beating and nothing happens to this guy. Um, and Miles is, the funniest part to me was where Miles gets punched by the Scorpion. He's like, oh my God. Like, he was like, and then you see his uncle fighting other guys, and he's like, boy, stand up, get out of the way. And he's like, oh, hold on. I've never been punched before. Oh, hold on. I'm dizzy. And then, it's really funny. I mean, Miles kind of takes a little whooping, and I'm like, oh man, like, and it's funny because the Scorpion's like, what are you, 13? But Miles starts to get the upper hand on him, and he realizes he starts putting all the tools of the trades that he does that Peter can't do. Like he can go invisible. So he uses that, and then he uses his stinger blast, his venom stinger that he does, and that's how he takes down the Scorpion. He's like, think, and he's like, and the Scorpion's like, what the hell were you doing? Like he's like, oh, that's my stinger, but it takes a minute for it to work, but then he gets shocked, and the police arrest him. So Miles actually takes down a crime lord, and he then the cops come and they put your hands up, the usual stuff, and he runs back in. He turns visible, runs back in to see if his uncle's there. His uncle's gone, so he's a little pissed off after that. And so, but he still is able to get away. He goes back to his friend Genki, back to his school, and he tells him, Genki's like, "Yo, what did you do?" Like, and he's like, "Yeah, it's a long story." Texas his uncle, like, "Where'd you go?" And he's like, "I had to get out of there." And he's like, "But it's not over." And Miles is like, "No, it is over. It's over." And then my uncle was like, then maybe we should have a talk with your parents. So once again, but it's the last part that really is the coolest part to me was really Aunt May and Gwen Stacy come back home. They from their they spent some time in Paris, and she calls up Tony Stark, and she starts to go on about, she says, Tony Stark, please. And he's like, Mr. Stark, it's May Parker. He's like, I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, we're back in America. Yeah, can you do me a favor? You know the all new Spider-Man? I would like to talk to him, please. Ends it right there. So it kind of wonders what Ahmed wants to talk to Miles about. Um, yeah, but it looks like the next issue is about Miles. Had enough. He's fed up with his uncle, and he's gonna bring him in or he's gonna die trying. Um, it really kind of contemplates. Is blood thicker than water, or is justice over blood? You know what I'm saying? Because his uncle is a thief. He's doing this, and so. But still, out of all the Ultimate books, this is perhaps the best one out of all of them. All right, moving on to Winter Soldier, number 6. Ed Brubaker. Brubaker. What have I always said about Brubaker? Best Cap/Cap related writer. This guy knows the characters so well, and this just comes off really good. My friend Movie Geek 17 had this on his pull list, and he'll say the same thing that I'm saying. Um, uh, this is the story. This is the prologue to the new story arc called Broken Arrow. Good movie, by the way. I'm just cutting. Okay. So we've realized, Bucky's realized that the sleeper agents that he's trained, there were 3 Russian sleeper agents that he trained. 2 of them are put away. The other one has gone missing. And we see what happens, how he came out of stasis. He came out of stasis really early. Like several years, he was in San Francisco. There was an earthquake. The earthquake shattered his stasis pod and basically woke him up in his first. And so now he wandered around several years, just didn't know where to go and things like that. But all the matter is act first, no ask questions. So you see him killing people right and left, no problem. He was homeless for a while, but then he starts to see the bringing up of the masked heroes and people like that. And then when he gets to see Bucky as Captain America, he's like, Bucky was a American soldier all along. Like, even as the Winter Soldier, he still realized that he was being controlled, and so he feels betrayed. and things like that. And then it comes to the point where he's going to cause Bucky hell. And he starts to find out. He knows that Bucky didn't die. He was at Bucky's eulogy after uh, Fear Itself, and he knows that that wasn't Bucky that died. So he knows Steve Rogers is lying about it. He's been trained to know if somebody's lying, and so he realizes that I got to bring Bucky out in the open. I got to bring him out to take him out. So he makes his first move, and he kills an old friend of Bucky's, somebody that had replaced Bucky for a while with Captain America. And he's like, yeah, I got you now. Like, yeah, he's watching Bucky. He's like, got you. So it comes to what's going to happen next. But this is just really good, true espionage book. Like I said before, tactical espionage that Brubaker does so well, so good. It that's why I say Brubaker is one of my favorite writers. He is just so good when it comes to these type of books. Very good stuff for Brubaker. I salute you. So the last Marvel book, X Factor number 337. 237. Sorry. Peter David, no slouch. Yeah, the book says it all. Road trip. So we got Banshee, we got Polaris, and we have Wolvesbane on a road trip. The gang realized that Wolvesbane has not been herself. Ronnie is just really out of it, and she's really into she's really self-pitying herself now, and we don't know why. So they realize it's like, look, road trip. So they travel to Vermont, and they go to a church up there, and we realize that one of the priests that occupies this church is one of Jamie's dupes as a priest. And he's actually a priest for real, and they know about it and everything like that. And Ronnie's like, please, like, let's go. Ronnie's just being really stubborn and things like that. And then after a while, she stays at the church while uh, Polaris, Lorna, and um, uh, uh, Cyrene basically, Banshee basically is like, so we're in Vermont. What else is there in Vermont? Like the Ben and Jerry factory. Let's go. They go to Ben and Jerry factory up in Vermont, and while Ronnie starts to tell the priest about what's going on, why she's this and that. We find out that she gave birth to a child by the wolf god. I'm forgetting this wolf god's name, and I believe that happened during her time with X-Force. I'm not sure if I remember correctly. And she realized she shunned the child. She didn't want nothing to do with it. So it's kind of like an act of self-salvation, self-reliance, and things like that for Ronnie. And she realized that I can't feel sorry for myself now. I gotta change. Things like that. And first thing for self-redemption is I have to find my son. Good stuff by Peter David. No action. No action is just a really self-spotlight story on Wolvesbane with Lorna and Banshee around as well. But yeah, it says it all. Road trip. Good stuff. No slouch, Peter David. Marvel, keep that man on this book. All right. So we move on to DC. The first book we're kicking off with is Batwing number 10. Jacked by the Jackals. Jude Winnick. And like I said, I'm really loving Marcus 2's artwork. So David is dealing with a group of pirates known as the Jackals. They dress up in fur skins and they call themselves Jackals. But they realize, and he's there to deal with these pirates. However, we know that the cargo and the pirates, they have they have a partner in Gotham. We don't get to see the partner. We just see a silhouette of him, and he's talking to the person. In the meantime, David actually gets some intel from Batman, and they go to help David as well. But they realized that the person that David found on the ship was a Chinese uh, biochemist, I believe, a nuclear physicist on there, and they start to comment, what's a nuclear physicist doing on this kind of boat? Why is he? So later on, David, along with Nightwing, takes a trip to China to figure out what's going on, and then we get involved with some new individual as well, a character known by the name of Long. Now, for all those who know, in Chinese, Long means what? If you know what it means. It means dragon, and we see him metamorph into this dragon guy. It was really cool. Um, but it was still good. It was fun. We got to see a little bit more of David in terms of how smart this guy really is. You know, not all his tech comes from Batman, um, and his and there's some other things in there that I don't want to spoil. But Batwing number 10, excuse me, still good. Glad this was the out of all the Batman Inc. characters, this was the one I loved the most. I was more intrigued by him. Um, but yeah, good stuff. All right, next up we have Detective Comics number 10. DC, really? $3.99? I thought you were gonna stay with $2.99 for all the books. Anyway, Tony Daniels and Ed Benz, yes, another one of my favorite artists, does this book. Uh, Mr. Benz, why are you not back on Red Lanterns, man? Get back on there. I want you back on that book. But anyway, Bruce is dealing with individuals dressed up like him. So you know that's going to piss him off. But also he's dealing with a villain known as, uh, what was his name again? Dr. Oh, damn, I forgot his name. I'm sorry, guys. Forgive me. I got to check his name out again. Damn, what is his name? Shit. I can't believe, he looks like Atomic Skull, but he's not. Mr. Toxic. There we go. He's dealing with this guy. And this guy looks like Atomic Skull mixed with Blight and people like that. And that's pretty much it. He's working this case, and that's where Bruce gets involved. But it was really good. Really enjoyed it. It's really good to see another villain that I've not really too familiar with. Like I said, guys. So it's really cool to see that, and how's Bruce going to handle this as well. The other story in this is another thing of Two-Face, another back issue of Two-Face, and it seems like Two-Face is trying to get rid of his evil, you know, the evil in him and things like that. And he goes so far as to bringing Buddhist monks to help him, and you know it was crazy. But Detective Comics was still good, but DC, I'm serious. Come on, man. Come on, dudes. $3.99. What's up with that? All right. Earth 2. In the world without heroes, The Flash is born. James Robinson, Nicola Scott. Earth 2. This book really centers around uh, Alan Pym. Excuse me, Alan Scott. Sorry, guys. He looks like, I don't mind the costume too much, but the helmet he looks too much like Hank Pym. I'm sorry. Um, Alan Scott. Not Alan Scott. What am I saying? Alan J Pym. That's what I say. Jay Garrett comes in, and he sees Mercury on the floor, the deity Mercury, and Mercury's dying, and he warns Jay about, there's a darkness coming far darker than what Apocalypse did, the World of Apocalypse, Darkseid, everybody like that. And with his dad's dying, he gives Jay the power, become the Speed God in a way, and Jay is all like, what am I gonna do? I'm the wrong guy. Mercury sees something in Jay. He's like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. Things like that. And he gets the power, and then he runs. He runs from the world's army and things like that. He outruns them pretty much, no problem. In the meantime, we see Alan Scott. There we go. And we finally get to see, him kissing his lover. Now, some people would probably ask, "Hey, kid, so how do you feel about that? How do you feel about, how do you feel about uh, Alan Alan Scott being gay?" Uh, I personally, with me, guys, I think it's just it's forced. It's really forced. That's what I feel about it. I think it's just a ploy. I think they could have just created a new gay character. They didn't even have to make Alan Scott gay. You know, now this means that we're not going to get Obsidian and we're not going to get Jade, who I am a big fan of. But so I'm not. I just feel like whatever. But we see him. But mainly, this book is all about Jay Garrett, and how he deals with his abilities now. We see him use his abilities. We see him. We see him rescue some people. For example, these rats are actually apocalypse rats. They're like rats that came from apocalypse, and they're not like ordinary rats. And he pretty much helps them. It was really funny. You see him still trying to learn his abilities, how fast he can run, how he's jumping over rooftops, no problem. It gave me a little sense of SpiderMan. You see him flipping all over the place. It was kind of cool. And then he's like, okay, now I got to stop. So he stops, and he's like, okay, that's going to be hard. He starts running so fast that he ends up in Poland, and he makes a big crater when he like stops, and he's like, "Excuse me, sir, where am I?" And then the guy runs away, and then the new we see Hawk Girl come down, and that was interesting as well. We also get to see one of my favorite DC heroes make his debut in the Earth 2, Mr. Terrific, and I wanted to save that for last. He ends up in New York, in the Earth 2 New York, and he's greeted by the former, as I pre 52, the first Mr. Terrific, Terry Sloan. And he's like, "Mr. Michael Holt." He's like, "I'm Terry Sloan, world's smartest man." And he's like, and Mr. Terrific, Michael's like, "Really? Okay." And he's like, "Come with me now," and things like that. And he's like, "No, I'm not going to come. I don't know where I'm at." Blah, blah. And so Michael makes his first move, and he's like, "Oh, I calculated you would send your T spheres after me." And he basically counteracts his T spheres with a nanovirus. And then, so it seems like here, Terry Sloan in this is the bad guy now. He's a bad guy. And there's also more tidbits we see, like while he's in Lower Manhattan, we see like a little billboard of Ted Grant about to have a fight, a boxing match with this guy called Morales. So we get to see like Ted Grant is in this universe. So I'm like, yeah. So hopefully, we'll see Wildcat sometime soon, or, whatever. But it still makes you wonder what's going to happen to Mr. Terrific. What does Terry Sloan want with him, and how the team is going to come together. The ending is where Jake Allen is on a train with his boyfriend, and the train explodes up. So the next issue is about him becoming the Green Lantern. But mainly, this book was spotlighted on Jay Jay Pym. No, I mean, sorry, I mean Jay Garrett. Um, I'm sorry, guys. He looks like Jay looks like Hank Pym. I'm sorry. Next up, um, Green Arrow number 10, guys. Yes, guys. I'm still reading Green Hornet. I'm Green Arrow. Damn it. Um, this is just a one-shot issue. Arrow saves a suicide victim who believes she's a robot. We get more into that, and he finds out there's this doctor who is basically self. He's basically mind controlling people who have been homeless, who have suffered loss and things like that. They're not human, who have lost the lack of emotion in a way that they're robots. And that's pretty much all this was. And Ali has to put a stop to it. Pretty much, that's it. That's all it was. I'm sorry. Not. It was. You know. And this book here is really bittersweet now to be reading because, once again, fuck you, DC, for canceling this book. You can't. JLI number 10. Dan Jurgens, bittersweet, powerless in the grip of breakdown. I like breakdown. This guy is cool. All right. So the gang is still. They're coming back from Paris, and they're dealing with what's going on. They still have to figure out who bombed, who bombed them and everything like that. And Breakdown and his group, like, we get to see who Lightweaver is in this and everything like that. And we see some of the team, like Omac, he's really contemplating, like, I don't want to be this way. He's a boy trapped in this body. And August General and Iron understands that, but he's trying to tell him, like, look, I understand that better than anybody, to be trapped in a body, but gotta kind of contemplate where you at. So Batman figured out where's everything at. We also find out some individuals of certain things that happen to some of the other people. Fire is in a coma. We don't know if she's going to come out of a coma. Um, Ice is still in and out of it. And we find out Vixen, because Batwing goes to visit her, Vixen might not be able to walk again. So I'm like, what the fuck, yo? Like, is this how you're going to segue some of these characters out of this universe now? It's bullshit. And the team battles Breakdown and his cohorts. And at first they're doing fine. But then, Breakdown puts his plan into fruition and he kind of takes down the league. And he's going to set an example for them. But yeah, this was still good. Very good. It's just bittersweet that this is ending. So once again, DC, you for canceling this book. You know. All right, next up, Red Lanterns number 10. Stormwatch faces the rage of Atrocitus. Peter Milligan and Miguel Sepulveda. I believe that's how you say his name. This book really felt like a Stormwatch book. And granted, guys, I don't read Stormwatch, but this is what it felt like. It felt like a Stormwatch book featuring the Red Lanterns. Bottom line of it is Atrocitus versus Stormwatch. And does he take it to Stormwatch? Hell yeah, he takes it to Stormwatch. He is handling his own against not just Jean and Apollo, and Midrider. The funniest thing is seeing Midnighter fight Atrocitus's cat. I'm forgetting the cat's name. That was funny. But yeah, Atrocitus just starts to take it to them because they have Stormwatch has Scallock. They have him, and it seems like Stormwatch is really trying to figure out the technology of not just the Red Lantern's ring, but the Green Lantern ring. And they're trying to talk about if they finally figure out that they can take down the Guardians and the Green Lantern. It was kind of crazy. But this just really felt like more of a Stormwatch book, but it was still good nonetheless. I enjoyed the battling, and I love the warning that Atrocitus said to them, like, this isn't over. You'll feel my rage again. Um, that cover sums it up pretty much because that's pretty much how he had some of them. He had pretty much all of them like that. I mean, John was able to get inside his head, and figure out who he is and everything like that. But still, he took it to all of them very much. All right. World's Finest, Huntress and Power Girl number 2, ready. A deadly threat from Earth 2. Okay, we got Paul Levitz and George Perez. George Perez. Um, Once again, this is a book that kind of contemplates now and the first year when the girls first arrived on the new Earth from their home. and they're dealing with Haku, which in Japanese means radiation. And Haku has basically destroyed the quantum um, chamber that was going to help, Kara and Helena get back to their Earth, and they're battling this guy. The first beginning is a battle. It just kicks off with a battle, and Haku takes it to both of them until Helena is able to hurt him by shooting an arrow like in the back of his neck, like I guess like where his solar power of his source power of his uh his power suit is or so. And then we go back to what's going on with we go back years where when they first arrived and how they're able to survive and things like that. So this book was as well. This once again, this is really story driven. It kind of, like I said, it contemplates between going back and forth and things like that. But they really just it's just a battle between Radiating Man, Haku, and them, and they're really starting to realize, is this guy from the 52 Earth, or is he from Earth 2 like they are? Because he starts to say things like they like kind of contemplates that. But it's good nonetheless. I enjoyed it. And George Perez artwork, no. All right. So we ended with the independent. So I have two companies for independent where we're going to go. First off, we'll kick it off with Valiant uh, Entertainment. Exo Manowar issue number 2. Robert Ventelli is still on the scene. Uh, so I explained to you what the story is so far. The year 409 AD. Eric the Daric and his Visigoths were just, are battling the Romans. We realized, and then all of a sudden they realized that his people, his people were being taken prisoner by they thought it was Romans, but they find out it's actually aliens. Then they call themselves the Vine. And they also take and Eric basically tries to stop them, but the alien technology is too much for them, and they all are captured and they're taken back to the planet, and now they're used as slaves and to do all the work and everything like that. But in the meantime, Eric starts to devise a plan to get out of there. It gets so gruesome for Eric that they actually cut off one of his hands, and um, it gets really brutal. A lot of his men start to die from fatigue and things like that. They're not eating and things like that, but they still have not lost hope to just give up, and they know that their leader is trying to devise a plan to get out of this. And the plan is to get to that sacred room where Eric had saw them, the Vine, worshiping this armor, this mysterious armor. So, and they 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 start a rebellion. They're able to get the armor, and Eric puts it on, and at first it looks like it killed him, just like it killed one of the other Vine members when he tried to put it on, but it doesn't. It keeps him alive, and he shoots them, and he's like, and then you see the priest. He's like, I can't believe that Sharninsina, I think that's how you go, has chosen a human to wield them. I think that's what they call the armor, and so now he's got the armor on, so it's all there now. But yeah, he's got the Exo Man of armor on. The artwork is really good. Like I said, it's been a long time since I read Exo Man. Like the last time I read him, like I said, was when he teamed up with Iron Man. That was a long time ago. Um, but I'm glad to see Valiant is making a comeback, and a strong comeback. And this was good. This was really good. Very good indeed. All right. And the next are 3 Dynamite books. And the first book is a new something new for you guys, to maybe try to catch up on or pick up. Pantha, number one. That's a nice cover by Texera. All right, so who is Pantha? Pantha is an avatar of the Egyptian goddess Sekhmet. She's a shapeshifter. She can change into this panther and shapeshift into this human, as you can see right here. And she is immortal. She can't die, and she wages war against whatever comes her way. Right now, she's trying to figure out who's been killing to atone for what the Egyptian god Ra has informed her to do. Basically, she is still in atonement, and she's trying to deal with who's been killing illegal immigrants. And she meets up with one of her old enemies, called Mamba, who, if you can think about it, she basically can turn into this giant snake and things like that. Um, I was really impressed by the first story. First story, very good. I thought the backstory is really good of who she is and why she's doing this, things like that. I'm big into, not just Greek mythology and things like that. I love Egyptian mythology, and I love when they start to really, really not forget the other deities, and not just the Olympians. But this book really focuses on the Egyptian deities, so it was really good. I enjoyed it very much. I like her shape shifting powers, like she shaped to this panther. It was really cool. So the first issue was not bad, very good, indeed, um, very good. Panther number one. If you check it out, if you want to, if you're trying to get into more independent stuff and you heard about Dynamite, yeah, check it out. Next up, David List, The Spider, number two. So what is Richard Wentworth up to now? Okay, so he's dealing with an individual woman known as Anaput. And once again, we're going into Egyptian mythology again. And she has the ability to kill and bring people, turn them into zombies. And this is the 21st century people we're dealing with. And David has to figure out how to deal with this. And he finds her, and she's no easy adversary to contemplate. She's been trained very well. She trained herself very well. Um, and at first she's like, I know of you, the spider, and we're on the same side. We're to put the right that the rich prey on the poor and everything like that. And Peter David's like, no, we're not. Things like that. Um, and it was really just a gritty, dark storytelling. But David List does a really good job on this, and Colton Worley's artwork in this is fantastic. It suits the darkness very much of this, like this gritty Manhattan style, like pretty much, because that's where it takes place. Um, but also we figure out that there's some dissension in the police force, that the villain in this Amput, basically, she gets, let's just put it like this: the head lieutenant of the police force, who believes Richard Wentworth is the Spider, he's in charge of investigating the Spider. He gives the villain in this vital information on Richard, because now she's starting to realize that, maybe, to know your enemy, she may figure out that Richard is the Spider. And but it was good. It was nonetheless. So when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, you bastard!" Like, crooked cops, I hate them. And we'll end this, and I hope you guys has been staying with me. We'll end this with Voltron Year One, number 3, Brandon Thomas. Good stuff. All right, so the gang, Squadron 686. Sven I don't want to say he's losing his mind or his cool, but he's kind of losing it in a way. Like it's it's like he's really like, you see him taking, I don't know what he's taking, but I think it's a drug or something. And but he realized that squadron has been set up, and he realized that it could be coming from the higher ups. Somebody, they realized that their last mission, somebody ratted them out. So he's starting to figure out that maybe it's somebody in higher up. So he asks, after they finished their mission that they were assigned, he starts sending Morse codes to them, like, no, we can't talk here, like, secure the room. So he starts to tell them, like, look, I think we've been set up. I think this happened and everything like that. Are you with me? The gang is like, yeah, we'll do it, but we got to do it on the up and up. We can't be caught. If we're caught, that's it. And that's pretty much where it leads to for Sven and the others. But yeah, it was good nonetheless. No, nevertheless, but it still worries me what Sven is up to and what that drug he is that he's taking. But this is part 3 of Fearless Leader, the Fearless Leader story arc, and it makes you wonder, what's going to happen to Sven and the gang a lot. Um, but remember, guys, this is before they were pilots of the line, so they're still just Squadron um, 686. But it was good nonetheless. I really enjoyed it. All right. So once again, guys, I hope you guys stayed with me for more than an hour, more than half an hour. Once again, guys, I appreciate everything you guys tell me, things like that. Your input on things. Um, I like to get a little bit more detailed with my reviews. That's why they take as long as they do. Not just because of the books. What can I say, guys? I have 2 jobs, and when you got 2 jobs, you know, and when you have one of your jobs is basically all the money goes to your comics. I'm a comic collector. I am. I'm a comic collector, and I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna stop. If I find something that's good, I'm good. Like I said before, guys, I try to not just stick to the big boys, Marvel and DC. I go outside, so I always try to tell people, you're trying to get out of Marvel and DC. You want to stay in Marvel and DC, but you want to get out of it. Here's some independents. You should look up IDW, look up Image, look up uh, uh, Dynamite. Valiant is coming back, has come back. There's Boom. There are still other studios to look, comic industries that make good comic books that are not just. And Dynamite to me is doing very well because they're bringing back classic heroes, but for this generation to really get into. So, but other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will be back next week, as I always say, God willing, because you never know what can happen. But I'll be back if I can. Like I said, I'll be back, guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. As always, this is Mount Vernon Kid saying peace, one love, stay tuned, keep it real. As always, guys, y'all take care.